everyone. Happy to have you here. So I'm Isabel. I'm going to be the MC today. Oh, I see that some people remember how Hermit works. Thank you, guys. Wow, you're a lot of people today. I'm so happy to have you all here. So today is a very special session of the French Tech Connect Seoul. First of all, because it's the first one of 2021, so it's a bit late, but happy New Year, everyone. And second, we are not the only French tech community today, and that's really awesome. So we got to introduce other French tech communities from the APAC region. So today we're going to have not only Seoul, but also Vietnam, Singapore, and Hong Kong and Shenzhen. We're going to learn everything about them. So the introduction is going to be super short because I'm going to pass along the mic to everyone. I just want to show you a bit how this platform works because I'm sure that some of you never used Hermit before. So here, you're going to have the ability to see who is everyone joining, being able to talk to them either by chat or later on once we finish the session during the launch and a real networking session. You can ask questions in the chat anywhere you want, and you can also, and I see that some already started, if you see at the bottom of your screen, you have the little emoticon reaction, and you can send us some love. Yay! So just before we start the session, I have a question for everyone. So prepare your keyboard, go on the chat on the left, no, right on my left, right side of the screen, and prepare to shoot out where you are right now in the world. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, wow, London, Vietnam, NC, Incheon, France. Wow, awesome. So we have people from all over the world. That's amazing. Hey. So this just brings you to how diverse and where is all the French tech community. So that's a super good introduction to the rest of you guys. So let's start this session now. If everyone is ready. So we're just going to start by a quick tour of introducing everyone. So who you are and what you do. First of all, Vincent?
Hi guys.
Which one?
Which one? Me or the other one?
Vietnam, start.
All right. My name is Vincent CAPA. I'm half French and Spanish. I'm an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur based in Saigon. I'm the co-president of LaFrenchTech for the last 4 years. And I'm doing IT and digital production in Vietnam since 2001.
Great, thank you. Amel?
Hi, I'm Amel Rigneau. I'm the CEO and founder of DigitalMind Media. It's a consulting boutique, and we help startups here to grow and to set up here in Southeast Asia. And I was before in Hong Kong, so I'm in Asia since for the last 10 years. Vincent, I give you the floor. The other one.
Oh, hey, hi everyone. So I'm Vincent, the second one. Currently I'm living in Hong Kong, where I'm the head of the community of the French Tech Hong Kong Shenzhen. Before that, I spent 8 years in Taiwan, where in the French Tech Taiwan. And here, for my job, I'm the director of technology of a place called Langquat Group. And yeah, we're just meeting Solomon now.
Great, great to be here again and having all these other French Tech colleagues and partners. So my name is Solomon. I'm part of the board of the French Tech here in Seoul. So I'm heading the Korean office of Eurazeo IDInvest. We're a French-based private equity fund. We cover, in fact, the rest of the APAC region, so Asia Pacific. And myself arrived in Korea in 2019 and was 5 years before in China, Shanghai. So had the chance to go to Shenzhen, to Hong Kong, but not Vietnam yet. So I hope that once everything opens up, we can all meet in person there. Isa, I'll let you demute. And
yeah, thanks. So now that we know a bit more who you are, I'm just gonna ask you to introduce your own community, because everyone has different models. So we want to know what's going on within your community, how many members or French entrepreneurs you have, how you work, the type of organization you have. The whole point is to see how diverse we all work in the different countries. So maybe this time we can start with Amel.
So the French Tech in Singapore has been set it up, I think, 4 years ago or 5 years ago already. We have roughly 3,000 maybe members, because we don't have we don't have any membership or fees or anything. So it's like everyone is free to come, either you are French or not. And we are working more by chapters. So we have, I believe, 15 chapters addressing different verticals. For example, retail tech, blockchain, cybersecurity, tech for good, fintech, and so on. And we have leaders of initiative. And the leaders of those initiatives are the steering committee of LaFrenchTech. We have, I think, 250 startups among our community, and many from the next 40, like Meru, Believes, OVH, Vestiaire Collectif, etc. And we have, because in Singapore, the relationship are really strong with the government. The government are supporting a lot of tech. We have developed a lot of relationship with the different institutions, governmental entities. And really in Singapore, our motto is that we all are entrepreneurs. We try to work, we are super lean, as I like to say it all the time. So we don't do Slack and so on. We are all on WhatsApp or a social channel to chat, and we are not afraid of failure. So we are trying some initiative, or the community is trying some initiative, and if it's failed, it doesn't matter. And what we are saying to our community, if you find a gap, you can fill it, and you can run your own initiative and be part of LaFrenchTech. And most of all, we have to have fun. So this is really what we try to convey through our community. And as I said, it's really inclusive, and has one of the official languages is English. So it's really easy for us to include the local people.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction. 3,000 members. Wow, that's a lot. Maybe we can compare this to Hong Kong.
Oh, hi. Yep. So actually, we're working more or less on the same model as Singapore. It's a very loose membership. That currently we have around 2,500 members. And I think for us, the main specificity is our French tech is actually the French tech Hong Kong Shenzhen. So we spans over what's called the Greater Bay Area. For people who are not very familiar with that, it's the whole delta around the river around here. So it regroups Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, and it's a project from the Chinese government to try to create a new innovation center somewhere in China. We are very, very event oriented, even if last year, we had to do a bit more online events, unfortunately. Even if those days in China, actually, the Shenzhen part of the French tech, they started events back a couple of weeks ago. That's pretty nice. And we usually got very good relationship with local companies and also big French companies like Airbus and maybe those luxuries company, also Huawei. We're lucky because we can be in touch with people in China or people outside China, so it's nice usually. And it's the same as Singapore. You know, the official language is English. We have everything, all our communication are in English. We try to enforce that with a bit of success because we really try to attract people if they like France, if they like the tech, and it's really, we really try to showcase what's the best that France has to offer. And yep, that's all.
That's all. That's already a lot. So maybe we can compare to what we're doing here in Korea.
Great, and then so very impressive stats. I must say it's really impressive, and I think it's great to be able also you know, going forward to work also all together to build on this brand of the French Tech. So we, the French Tech in Seoul, started in 2013, but that was really where it was still government led. Then became the French Tech Hub, I believe, in 2016. I know Allianz, Orange, the chamber here, and also the help of Business France and the government were all helping a lot. So these are the local partners on site. And then in 2019, so we really switched to the community, as you know, most of you, and we've really been trying to build on this. So we have currently, you know, close to 250 members. So it's a lot less than Singapore or Hong Kong, but we're working hard on this. But we have, you know, close to 2,000 followers, which I will include as members. We have, you know, 50 plus big companies there. We're lacking still, I think, some of the startups, but clearly, I think this is really one of the objectives we want to push forward. Especially, I see, you know, Amel, you were talking about Miru, Vestiaire Collective. I mean, these great companies, and I think they're looking more and more into potentially coming to Korea. And so this is something we really want to try to work on. Maybe in terms of organization, and that's what's really interesting what you were saying, Amel, especially on the WhatsApp. So we're using the local messaging apps, which is Kakao. We're also using the Slack. We're using LinkedIn quite a lot. So yeah, we're testing many different things. Sometimes it can feel that there's too many things, but I think it's a great way to try to build this community. And I think the vision really we want to try to keep and move forward is that everyone brings a bit their own brick in some ways to this whole thing that we're trying to create. And it's great, you know, you all mentioned English as a language. I think that's really not too French. Normally everyone would be speaking French, and you know, you maybe have 2 French people and 10 English speaking people would still speak French. But I think this is one of a great evolution on this and mindset wise, and is helping a lot to create a lot of momentum, and including not just the French Korean for us, but even those other, you know, partners. And we work with the New Zealand Chamber and so forth. So I think there's really a lot to work on there. Isabelle, I think we have Vincent. I'm really excited to hear how it works in Vietnam there.
So yeah, Vincent, the mic to you. You're on mute, by the way. You need to turn it.
All right. The community started 6 or 7 years ago, probably born from entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. And we've been under labelization the last 4 years for Vietnam with 3 cities, Hanoi, the capital, Da Nang in the center, and Ho Chi Minh City. In terms of figures, I think we have a little bit less than 300 companies. Mainly these companies are, I would say, 20 to 30% are big players, big companies, and the rest is an entrepreneur community. In terms of members, we are reaching almost 4,000 members. A little bit like others, especially in Singapore, I think there is a lot of similarity. We are very inclusive. We are using a WhatsApp channel, but also a Facebook channel to be in touch with the community. I think we are the lucky ones in 2020 because we've been able to do physical events. So we have a 2 years roadmap that is decided by the board, but coming from the community. And nowadays, the big topics of the current year that we just started are EdTech, Green Tech, and Industry 4.0. On top of local topics such as HR, retention, recruitment things, and of course few technical topics that we try to tackle with at CTO level and so on. One of the particularity I would say is we've been very inclusive with our host Vietnamese companies. So of course we are very close with the CCI, the French Embassy, Economic Services, and here locally the Consulat Général. But we are also working very closely with Vietnamese companies, Vietnamese Business Association, to keep a good mix of information sharing and best practices in the events that we are doing. So that's a little bit the DNA of this community in Vietnam.
Thank you for the intro. It's really nice to see how everyone is doing and going with like system without a membership, and that's a huge community. As in Seoul, we had that, and then we decided to switch to a more membership to install more of, how can I say, willingness to be in the community and like kind of awareness as well, you know, who we are as member, who can help, and how we can work out the whole members and the community and the power behind it. So it's super really interesting to see how everyone is working. And now I wanted to kind of, because we have different models, but we have also very different ecosystem and very different startup ecosystem for which we go to. So for us, especially Shenzhen, Hong Kong, and Singapore, it's very more mature startup ecosystem, I would say, or at least that's the feeling that I have. And I know that Vietnam is on the rise. As in Seoul, we're like starting to get mature and still struggling on some specific stuff. So yeah, I wanted to like kind of ask you to introduce a bit your vision of the startup ecosystem you're like working in, and maybe this time we can start with Hong Kong.
Okay. So here what's very interesting here is we have Hong Kong and Shenzhen. You know, it's like across the river, and they are completely different ecosystems, but at the same time they work very well together. You have the Hong Kong side, which is much more oriented toward fintech, health tech, and the consulting side of the business. I want to say, you know, it's very good at raising funds. Hong Kong side, if you want to launch an IPO in Hong Kong, we have massive Chinese companies that launched monsters IPO last year. So it's pretty good to raise capital and everything related to finance. And on the other side of the river, you have Shenzhen that's really rising as really an innovation center. Like traditionally, they were, you know, if you want to have anything hardware-wise to be done in Shenzhen, you can set up a prototype in a week. It's really crazy. Like, so that, you know, hardware-wise, they're very, very good. And those days, you see like big companies on the other side, like that are developing much more software things. Like I think just an hour ago we had a big event with Huawei. So that you know, we see those very big Chinese players that are investing massively into startups around here to develop a bit this Greater Bay Area synergy.
That was short but super insightful. Thank you. So maybe we can move on to check out what's going on in Vietnam. Really interesting, curious.
All right. I would say the community and the market is very entrepreneur-centric and startup-centric. So it's definitely a very young market. I mean, just to give you a few figures, it's 100 million of people. 70% of the population is under 30 years old or 35 years old. It's a very booming country that I guess you guys know. So from that perspective, Vietnam is definitely a market where startups or entrepreneurs can do their mock-ups, their MVP, and a little bit like in the kindergarten, entering Asia through, or Southeast Asia through Vietnam has been definitely the right choice. In terms of funding, I will say it's a little bit more challenging. Of course, all the regional VCs are here. We have new people like Phoebe that have been starting operation the last 2 or 3 years. And of course, all the big players. I will say that the past 6 or 7 years, most of the funding was going to the Me Too project or copycat project. And we can see a shift the last 2 or 3 years with more product that they're defined for the Vietnamese and to be deployed in Vietnam. That's quite new. So I would say access to fund is definitely something that is doable. It's probably a little bit more challenging also because in terms of company incorporation, I would say it's quite simple, honestly, compared to where we come from in Europe or in France. But the challenge could be to raise capital as for very early stage company. All these angeling things and seeds are complicated to get. Beside that, the market is quite tough. People are looking for the next game changer application. But because the population is very young, the adoption of new apps is quite fast. So it's a quite young and immature market where the possibilities are just amazing. And definitely, if I second something, is keep in mind that to enter Southeast Asia, Vietnam is definitely the best kindergarten to start with. I see you, Amel.
So Amel, apparently you want to react to all of this?
I don't know if Vietnam is the first step to enter Southeast Asia. No, but to be more serious, Singapore, it's an easy country. What I mean is it's really stable. There is no corruption. Everybody speaking English, has an official language. It's multi-sectorial. You have all the sector here in Singapore. I was quite amazed coming from Hong Kong, and it's so easy to set up a company. You are doing like this in less than half day. You can set up your company. The taxes are like in Hong Kong really low. It's really a developed country with a really good IT infrastructure. And there is really a lot of strong opportunities here in Singapore. We have, I think, 3,000 or 4,000 startups, and but it's a really small country. So it's really, I think, easy to come to Singapore to go after to Southeast Asia. So to go to Vietnam, to go to Indonesia, to go to Malaysia, and so on. Because here it's really, really stable. And you have an excellent labor force, very well educated, but really expensive. And we have an amazing government, really supportive. And this is the reason why I said earlier that it's really important to have and to get in touch with the government, because they have a vision. Really, the industry 4.0, it's already happening in Hong Kong. In Singapore, but in Hong Kong also. In Singapore, everything is online, everything is digitalized, and with the COVID situation, there was a really boost, and we have different kind of governmental entity who can give subventions, grants, and they are trying to attract talents and people so that they will help you, and I think in terms of investment, we have a lot of business angel syndicate. We have all the VCs here located in Singapore. I believe your entity, Solomon, is here in Singapore also. And the government also is investing a lot in different fields and tech. Just to give you a number, 2 years ago, there was already 300 or 400 deals make it in 1 year. We have 50% of the Southeast Asia unicorns, so it's quite a lot. And as I said, it's really easy to raise money and to set up a company. But nothing is beautiful, but I believe that we will go to it later.
We will go on the non-beautiful part later on. Yeah, so Solomon, maybe we can move on to introducing our own little Seoul in South Korea.
Our loved country, yeah. I think we need a pitch to really promote this Korean ecosystem. No, it's a great. First of all, it's a nice place to live, and you know, I've been to Singapore, Hong Kong, Shenzhen, not Vietnam, so I will not pronounce myself on that. But it's true that Korea is an easy place to live, I would say, especially as a foreigner. Then that said, there's some, you know, constraints and restrictions, but we'll go down the road later on. If we come maybe to the startup points, and I'll just, you know, illustrate this a bit by our experience also as a firm, because we're backing a lot of these French companies, a lot of these tech companies, and we decided to open our first, first hub in Asia was in Shanghai. So it was not Hong Kong, it was not Singapore, it was Shanghai. We really thought that the Chinese market was a huge market, and was also probably one of the big growth places for a lot of those companies that wanted to expand in Asia. We realized that it was a lot harder than expected for those companies. I think I always compare this to the gold rush. A lot of people thought there was like gold, and they went there and they wanted to dig, and there was a bit of a fool's gold. So they thought that it was going to be very easy, you know, just one tiny neighborhood in Shanghai, and you know their business was done, unicorn style. But it's not the case. It's a really, really tough market. I think all new markets are hard, but China is especially hard. And the second hub we opened was in Korea, in fact. So it's a mix of many different reasons. But we felt that these companies and these startups more and more wanted to, when they come to Asia, have distinct offices or distinct presence to cover more specifically those markets, because each market, in fact, was relatively different. And so we've seen that Korea, in fact, is, you know, probably a very good way to enter the Asian market. So I know everyone's going to say that their place is probably the best to enter the market, but just put it on the point of, if you want to enter the Asian market with a mature market where you're, you know, easily you can fly to Japan or China when there's no COVID, and to sort of test the market in some sense, it's quite a good place. You have a very, you know, sophisticated consumer base here. It's you know, people are quite rich relative to the rest of the Asian countries. So on a GDP per person basis, so it's very interesting. And we see, I mean, with proofs. I mean, we're looking at some of these companies which are now really considering coming to Korea, establishing office, establishing a local presence here, to be able to then, you know, develop in Korea, but also potentially expand in Japan and elsewhere. So this is, I think, a very interesting trend. The fact that Korea managed pretty well the COVID situation has also brought quite a spotlight on that country, plus all the soft power of, you know, K-pop, maybe the beauty sectors. And I think a lot of people are now realizing that Korea is quite a place. So we're seeing more and more people. I think it's going to be a growth for the next coming 4 to 5 years, and it's going to be very interesting to see that trend. Now on the pure, you know, local entrepreneur, it's true that we're still, I think, lacking as many entrepreneurs as maybe in China or Singapore for sure, Southeast Asia. The community feels a bit smaller here, maybe a bit tighter, so that's a good part, but it's a bit smaller, but that clearly is going to grow. But on the other side, Korea is becoming a real big tech hub. And, you know, one of the things is like how many unicorns came from Singapore, how many unicorns came from Vietnam. In Korea, there's 13 unicorns. This is at the same level as Germany now, practically, just under the UK and under then India, China, and US, in front of France. You know, so it hurts me a bit to say that, but they have more unicorns than in France. And this is driven by a massive push by the government, by the local ecosystem. They invested, you know, $6 billion into the tech market, $6 billion tech market last year, despite the COVID, and that was an increase of practically 50%. So they're really massively expanding on this, and they need to, as well as they want to, bring in new foreign companies. And so I think there's going to be a trend. It's still a difficult market, but I think it's really a market that people need to consider, be it to start a company here or come into the markets, because there's going to be some very interesting things down the road for sure.
I want to rephrase a bit for Vietnam. I mean, I think there is more complementarity about what we are saying on our ecosystems. And I mean, one of the functions that the French Tech Vietnam has been doing the last 3 or 4 years is to have this APAC role, trying to do these first APAC events. Also, we were one of the first one, and then Singapore did it, hosting this kind of APAC event. I remember quite well with the French Tech Phnom Penh in Cambodia, but also the French Tech Bangkok in Thailand. What I wanted to say regarding entering the market, where I see a huge difference, is more on the entrepreneur and startup part for Vietnam. It's 120,000 engineers graduated in Vietnam per year. And of course, as you know, the labor cost is a bit different. So of course, definitely the maturity of the market cannot be compared. There is no really unicorns. They are still in the Me Too. But regarding the labor force, I think the Vietnamese engineers are quite at the high level. Of course, language is a challenge. Pixel perfect is a challenge. But from that perspective, incubating fresh project or very young entrepreneur project is an interesting approach in Vietnam.
So actually, I can keep you the mic if you want, because so everyone has it's really interesting how you all brought up the very strengths of the ecosystem, and as everywhere we're all here. Yes, this is the place to come. Please come, guys, and join. Everyone is like this. Everyone want to do, but I do believe that depending on each business and where you want to go, and what is actually your market, it really depends, especially on different industry. We know that, for example, fintech, we hear a lot about Singapore. I do believe, and we have a lot of Korean startups as well that are like looking into Vietnam to especially build out stuff. And like the main power of it there is like super interesting. In here, we have a lot of like entertainment, but also everything regarding to logistics or industry, high industry and medical as well. It's like pretty interesting in here. Hong Kong, I'm not that, I don't know, less, sorry, but I know that. I mean, if you want to start to go to, just go.
That's the thing. I think in Hong Kong, it's very easy to raise funds and have access to this gigantic Chinese market. It's actually pretty straightforward. And that allows you to scale up really fast and at the same time, you have a ton of investment opportunities here because, in terms of cash flow, you got this gigantic property market here that's really injecting a ton of money back into technology.
And do you need to have your R&D or your headquarters in Hong Kong to be found or not?
It depends on the programs, but it really depends. There are some, I'm not very familiar with all of them, but some local incubator, they ask for a certain share of people in Hong Kong. After Shenzhen, definitely you need to have a more local presence in Shenzhen. But at the same time, from my experience, especially I was in Taiwan before, and myself I applied for some grants in Taiwan. I find Hong Kong to be, for example, very straightforward, and it's very, it's like the paradise of capitalism here. So if you got a good idea and enough. If you got a good idea, it's actually pretty easy to find someone to fund you and to make sure it's happening fast. There's very, very, very little limitation and barriers between you and a good business.
Thank you. Maybe we can move on to the next part, which is actually what is difficult? What are our challenges every day? So I want to say this question as an entrepreneur, but also on the point of view of a foreign entrepreneur in all of those different countries. I do know that we have a lot of challenges in Korea. So maybe we can go for, yeah, Solomon, let's go.
Great. Well, I mean, I'll make it simple. Korea is wonderful, but I think like everywhere, there are some difficulties. Language is, I think, one of the difficulties. A lot of people speak English, but a lot of people like to be working in Korean. So if you want to really build a company as a foreign entrepreneur in Korea, I think you really need to be, able to have either Korean language skills or Korean staff to really help you on that or a co-founder or whatever. That's one point. I think it's also a very competitive market. As I mentioned, there's some very strong tech players here. So if you're playing on the tech part and you really want to have Korea as your own markets, it's also going to be challenging. So that said, I think that the language, the fact that there's really strong competitors are some of the key headwinds. As a personal way, and I compare this to China, there is this easiness of, let's say, working in Korea, because it feels that there's a sort of bubble for foreigners in some sense, which can be pretty comfortable. So I always say Korea is comfortable. So it's a comfortable place, but you don't have also this wildness maybe that you have in China, which can also be very exciting. Maybe you have also that in Vietnam, sort of very dynamic, where you feel that, every day you found the gold nuggets. It's maybe a false gold nugget, but you found it. So that's really what I feel in Korea. But that said, I think the government, the ecosystem really wants to try to promote. And one thing I forgot to mention this before, but there's this K Global Challenge, which is sort of startup challenge for foreigner entrepreneurs in Korea. It's every year. You can get quite an amount of grants. They can really help you. I think this is probably one of the best ways also to try to enter the market for relatively fresh or new entrepreneurs trying to come into the market there.
Thanks, Solomon. Yeah, I would like to hear a bit about Amel in Singapore.
So as I said earlier, Singapore is relatively an open market economy. So it's less challenging to come in Singapore and to set up and to operate here. But we have really to keep in mind that the challenges are regarding first the high level of salaries, and even the cost of living, which is not the case probably in other countries or other South Asia countries. And also it's a really small market. In Singapore, it's like 5 or 6 million of people comparing to the other countries. But as I believe, it's a good way to enter to Southeast Asia, where you have, 600 or 700 million of people. And also, the government has slowed down a little bit the immigration, and notably during this COVID situation. So it's at the moment not so easy to get a visa due to COVID situation, but as you are doing it in Korea, the government are launching a lot, and even the main corporates here in Singapore are launching a lot of challenges in all verticals. And the government, they are trying to have a full transparency of what they are looking. You can find all those challenges on the web. So you have to go to the government website, and everything is explained. You can apply from abroad, and as everything is online, it's really easy. And the other pain point for the startups here, it's not the lack of talent, but the small pool of talent, of IT talents. Even the university, Singapore has a really high-end university, but there is a lot of people. So we go to Vietnam, for example, for finding resources, a good tech talent in Vietnam. So I give you the hand.
I guess, honestly, probably the most difficult part will be the talent pooling. Vietnam, as I said, is a young country, but don't forget that the DOMA, Vietnam opening itself to the world was in 1992 and 1996. So it's a very young country from that perspective. The other thing is, even we have a lot of graduated, it's a very challenging market in HR. So you have very big players in the software industry. So with 1,000 plus employees, 2,000 plus employees, and you have also the last 6-7 years these huge product companies such as Lazada, Alibaba, Tiki, or Grab actually here. And these people are pumping the market from a talent perspective. So for a young company, for a startup, or for a product company starting to deploy in Vietnam, I would say the first challenge will be, how do I build my team? How do I manage my team? And then you come back to a little bit what Solomon also say. Language can be, they're speaking English, but it's a broken English. I think they're all studied it. So then languages and cultural barrier will pop up. But the first one that I will share with you guys is definitely HR, and in the capability for the entrepreneur or for the management team to build the production team and the right people at the right place. It's definitely the most challenging aspect, I would say, to enter and deploy something into Vietnam.
Thank you. Yeah, it's pretty interesting, because like we said, that Amel actually is looking for talents in Vietnam, but actually it's not that easy. We all have our own vision of how is our neighbor doing. So maybe, yeah, let's finish by you, Vincent, on Hong Kong.
So I think Hong Kong, what's infamous in Hong Kong is the cost of living. That's one of the highest rent in the world. Which sometimes might complicate things when you're in the early stage of your startup. After that, those days, this is mostly related to this whole COVID thing. Like, there was a lot of things taken for granted. Like, for instance, before, if I wanted to take the train to Shenzhen, in half an hour later, I'm in Shenzhen, I can use the same card to pay at the 7-Eleven in Shenzhen and Hong Kong. So there is a lot of integration between Hong Kong and China, and I think no one really planned for the virus. So a lot of things that were granted, it took a bit of time to really try to find a bit of a new momentum, to really rekindle the integration between the two cities. But no, it's getting a bit better. And the last thing is probably the lack of this is mostly of a Hong Kong issue, the lack of an IT talent pool. Like most of the good engineers are grabbed by the financial industries, or the bank, because we got so many bank or luxury companies headquartered here. They just grab all the good guys at insane salaries. So it's as a car, it's very hard to compete against that. Luckily, in Shenzhen, it's a bit easier from this side. Even if you're in Shenzhen, you got people like Tencent. Like Tencent is the headquarters there. Everyone wants to work for them, but otherwise, that I think that's probably one of the big issues. Really finding talents. Like me, as a company, we tend to outsource a lot in Philippines and Vietnam, actually.
Thanks. So we see that actually the talent is quite an issue for everyone. And I saw the comment of Boston saying that it's the same for us. Everyone want to work for Samsung, LG, or those big chaebols. And it's a bit more complicated, especially when you're a little startup, especially for Rainer, to find good talent, willing to speak in a good English. It's sometimes can be a challenge, but once you find the right person, then you're like, that opens everything. So that's yeah, coupon neighbor cacao the new. I'm reading your message, Bosin. So we're gonna just take another kind of quick tour question because we're already kind of at the end of 45, kind of at the end of the session. So I just want to say to everyone that after this little chat, we're gonna have, I hope, sometimes to take out some questions. So please put them into either the chat directly, or you have the question little box down to the chat on your right. Yeah, your right. So you can also ask them here, and then we're gonna take as much as we can. But don't worry, even if we don't have enough time, we have the networking session after. So you can also go and ask anyone whatever you want. So I just want to go back to yeah, we're in January 2021. 2020 was such a challenge for everyone. We kind of see that we hope it's getting better, but at the same time, we are planning that it's going to be the same like 2020. So yeah, I just wanted to ask every one of you, what are the big plans for next year for your own community for French Tech in different part of the world? So let's start by Vincent, Vietnam.
All right. So I mean, one more time, we are the lucky one in Vietnam, at least inside the country. Inside the country, don't get me wrong. So for 2021, based on our roadmap, the challenge will be probably access to external experts that we would like to invite physically to some events, or this famous APAC gathering that is supposed to be also taking place in Vietnam somewhere in 2021. But beside that, I would say one of the challenge is more to be able to reactivate the community. I think, yes, as you said, Isabel, 2020 killed a lot of ambitions, but also killed several companies. And it has been a very demanding year. So a lot of people came back home. Not only French people, I mean, in general. So having this problem in the community could be one of the challenge. Is mean the board capability to mobilize or remobilize the community and find the doers. I mean, people that they can embrace a topic, deliver something, and bring that experience or that momentum to the rest of the community. Beside that, I would say where we are looking at for 2021 is we are quite much using a talent passport or passport talent, which is an immigration facilities that we have through our French Tech. That's true for everyone. And we are trying to push Vietnamese citizens to work for French companies back home in France. So one of our topic this year is also to embrace a little bit more. We've been doing it in 2019. We've been doing it for Linagora or with Linagora in 2020. We are still doing it with some cases in 2021. So where I see the roadmap going is tackling these new topics, challenging the community, and try to have this positive emulsion, if you want, from the doers in the community, and definitely try to also to get a board, because in the end we have an organization. We need to be articulated with people that take responsibility, take projects, deliver things, and that's definitely something as a co-president I see also as a main challenge. Try to work far from the people that are not doing anything, and try to welcome people that they are really willing to do things together. So that's a little bit what's going on for us in the coming months.
Thanks. I think because I wanted to react by saying stuff about what we're currently doing in Seoul. So maybe I'm just gonna leave the mic to Solomon, because these boards.
Well, I mean, let me just say a few things, and Isabel, I think you can also share your thoughts. I mean, we're, I would say, still pretty fresh, new, but we have, I believe, a lot of objectives also. I think we need to enhance the community and try to also find a good direction which helps the community. And I think everyone, talked about HR And I think one of the main, solutions we could be able to help is, to help people find jobs or be able to work easily all together. Be it entrepreneurs that want to find people, or even just people that want to find, jobs in those countries on the tech or in the entrepreneur space. So really being able to build on this. And I think that, works in including more people from the corporates, from the startups, and from both sides, be it Korea or France. And even, I think expanding the relationship with those other French tech communities, but also other countries and other equivalent hubs or projects that are there. So being able to do that, and I think being able to keep a sort of community vibe, meaning that everyone can bring their own, I would say, project or their own, I say, brique à l'édifice, so their own brick to the construction that we're trying to build, to the project we're building. It's going to be a wonderful future on that. I mean, Isabelle, maybe before passing on, you want to add a bit more on that?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say we're actually renewing our board right now. So this is kind of a huge actuality for us. We try to do that as much as possible to like kind of keep the vibe of new blood into the board and keep everyone active. Now that we've built our community, yeah, how to manage all of the people and be sure that it's not just the board doing stuff and giving it, but more everyone feeling that the French Tech it's for them and that they can do stuff within it and bring out new ideas because we have quite a lot of active people. And yeah, I think also maybe I can just add the Tech for Good Summit. It's like one of our big annual events we're going to do. It's the second edition. We're going to do it online, and it's going to be, yeah, we're preparing everything. And most of you already know about it, at least for the other French Tech APAC, because we already kind of put out some hints that we may ask you for like help on finding speakers and startups and stuff. So yeah, we're working on this. So no more about Seoul. Let's move on to Singapore.
So our plan for 2021 is to get bigger and to get better. So more chapters, more interaction, more initiative for more business. And as an example, so we don't have a formal board here in Singapore. We are more a board of leader of initiative. So we are between 50 to 20 people. And there are some that are coming in, they are coming out. It depends on what they are willing to do. So as a leader of one of the initiative, which is Women in Tech, I want more diversity for next year, and I believe I will try. And thank you for this panel. We are 2 out of 5. And also, what I want to push this year as entrepreneur here in LaFrenchTech is to have more initiative around APAC. And really also thank you for this panel because it shows us the first initiative, or one of the first, that we can have synergies between us. Even we have a regular call, and we have also WhatsApp group where all the APAC people can go. So if you go, for example, in our website, you will look at all the chapter open and the WhatsApp group, and you will see, I don't know, 10 or 12 or 15 different group, and you can enter easily. And one of them is APAC. So if you want to be part of the community through all the South Asia or even Asia in general, you can go on this WhatsApp. And for the last thing is that I want to mention is that we send a survey because what we believe is that it's important that the community has to take the power, and they have to lead a project. Is not only the steering committee or the leader of initiative. So we have lunch, and I believe all the community in Asia will transfer the Google form, because we had in December, I think, or in November, we made a survey to collect all the needs of startups around all the different regions, and we highlight 8 subjects. And so if you want to take a lead on one of the subjects or to launch a project, you can answer to this survey, and we will set up a small teams working on that, on those subjects across countries. So probably you will have one from Seoul, one from Vietnam, and perhaps one from Singapore, and so on. So this is the for me, at least, what I want to push this year. And as a community, is to give more business to our members in those difficult situations, in those difficult times.
Thanks, Amel. So I just put in the chat the link of the post that I put on our LinkedIn about this. You have like the result of the survey and also the link for the Google form. So we're just going to finish by Vincent, and we're quite tight on schedule, but I know that we have at least one question. So maybe let's move on with Vincent, answer that question, and then we can wrap up, if that's okay for everyone.
Yeah. Okay. So concerning 2021 plans for Hong Kong Shenzhen community, the first thing is we keep expanding. We started much more activity in Guangzhou. So we're really expanding through this Greater Bay Area thing. At the same time, our main goal is to create a community. So we spend quite a amount of time actually curating this community. We don't hesitate to, from time to time, we create new groups to make sure only active members are actually following us. We also have this big project coming. It's called Next Tech China. So we actually, this is in partnership with the other French tech in Shanghai and Beijing, if I remember properly. So we're actually going to bring startups to meet the Chinese ecosystem. So we're pretty excited about this one. And I think the last thing is, we keep pushing on the events, because on 2019, for example, it was exceptional. I think we had like 40 events in the year, small one, big one. And 2020, we had at least 12 or 15 events, despite the whole COVID thing. So this year, that's going to be, I hope it's going to be also very active. Things like we got the FinTech coming. We just had an event with Huawei today. So yeah, it's exciting that we keep building community, organizing events, and try to have people to discover a bit this whole Chinese Hong Kong ecosystem, which is scary and exciting at the same time.
Thanks, Vincent. So I think, let's just move on to the question that we have. It's from Maxime. It's basically coming back on the linguistic challenge, if I understand right. And basically, it's all on the recruiting and the talent part. And if you had like some ideas on how French tech related companies, so I guess more France-based startup who try to come into the market, try to recruit people in all of our different ecosystem before developing in those countries, and if you have some best practice on how to do that. So it's more market entry. I'm a French founder from France, and I like started in France. I want to expand here. How do I try to kind of build my first team? So that would be his question, if I understand it correctly, Maxime. And maybe we can have just one or two people from who want to answer this one. Vincent, go for it.
That's the thing. So Hong Kong is actually very easy because there's a ton of French people here. And the French Chamber of Commerce is one of the biggest in the world. So there's definitely a good entry point. And at the same time, everyone here speaks pretty well English. And that's the same for Shenzhen. I would say if you want to hire someone, it's super easy. And it's probably easier than in France because there's less regulations. It's very fair and there's not much taxes on employees. So yeah, if you want to start in Hong Kong, it takes about 2 weeks to open a company, and hiring someone goes very fast with English-speaking people ready and a ton of French people ready to help. So in my experience, it's super straightforward and super fast.
Anyone else want to add something? No?
I mean, I will second what Vincent said. Using also in Vietnam the CCFV as a first touch base is definitely something interesting for French companies. And then, if I understand well, recruiting-wise, I think you have a lot of and plenty operators that they're doing that, from CV screening to pre-interview and so on. So I would say it's possible to find one-stop services solutions to enter the market and get the team at least to start with.
And also, I want to add that FT Taiwan has set up a website for jobs. So this one could be also a way to do it. And in Singapore, we have a WhatsApp group for only talents and startups, so they can talk to each other, but is basic one. So, but the FT Taiwan has a specific website for this.
Maybe I'll just put one word. I mean, Isabel, we launched also a channel in Slack for job posting, same as for the Kakao. So it's trying to connect. I think we can do a lot more, and maybe also a lot more altogether. I think this is something, if we can manage to create those relationships, it's clearly something that will be very helpful for everyone.
I think it was the idea of FT Taiwan, really, and okay. Because they designed the website, so probably we have to.
I posted the link. It's basically, so FrenchTech Taiwan, they put this into the FrenchTech Community Fund, so that was their project for last year. So they have a whole platform basically dedicated to helping, well, first of all, French Tech Next 40 something, but anyone from the French Tech ecosystem as a French Tech startup who would be interested into posting their own announce and doing a lot of stuff. So yeah, definitely that is something that you can also check out. We do a lot of work with the French-Korean Chamber of Commerce as well, but especially for ourselves, I would say get into the community because that is where the talent you want are because anyone, like the profile that you're looking for, so people interested in a startup, speaking English and like kind of motivated, they will find their way into either the French Tech or any other international startup community, and that's how you're going to find them most of the time. That's how most of our entrepreneurs actually find, like, especially people from or different programs. If you go into accelerators, some of them, they have programs to help people out. So yeah, that would be my little insights on this. I saw that we have other questions, but I think we're yeah. No, actually, I think it's fine.
Maybe we can discuss it during the tables, no?
Yeah, so let's discuss everything during the table. So yeah, actually, I wanted to wrap up by telling everyone about the French Tech APAC initiative, but you stole my line, Amel. But it's fine. So basically, I think we've talked about a lot of stuff. That was super insightful. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you to all of our new other French Tech communities. Now we're going to move on to the networking, and I love saying that online. We can actually do a networking session. So once we're going to finish this, we're going to go back to the lounge. So it's the first stuff that you saw when you entered. I already kind of set up some tables. So I'm just going to ask Vincent, Amel, and Solomon to go to their assigned table so that people can find you easily. So that's going to be the first step of the networking, and then once people kind of spread out, maybe we can regroup. So yeah, see you on the other side. Thank you.